Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to Nostalgia Unboxings, and today we are going to be doing a tutorial on how to actually play the Digimon card game that we unboxed a few episodes ago with starter deck Gaia Red here. Box is of course empty because we have everything all set up. So before we actually get into the meat of the video, I wanted to just say a couple things. So one thing is we passed 300 subscribers, I think actually before the last video I posted, and I just completely forgot to acknowledge it. So yeah, we passed 300 subscribers. I think we're at like 308 at the time that I'm recording this, which is freaking awesome, and it's another huge milestone, and I hope that we can continue to keep going forward because, you know, honestly, I thought I peaked at 100, so seeing that we have tripled that is just phenomenal. And then the other thing I wanted to say is just a kind of slight apology. Oops, we kind of slid out of frame there. Is a kind of just a slight apology for being really inconsistent with my schedule lately on on my upload schedule. Because I actually started physical therapy for my leg issues that some of you may be aware of if you're longer time viewers. So that has been cutting into like my filming time, and I've just been out of energy on a lot of other days where I've just been really sore after the therapy. So it's just been kind of difficult, and I hope you guys can bear with me. I would like to get back to a very regular schedule sooner rather than later. But sometimes it's not necessarily up to me. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of get that out of the way. And, you know, hopefully it won't be too bad, but I'm still trying to aim for one video a week. And again, you know, your results may vary. That does not always happen as much as I would like it to. So anyway, on to the actual video. The way I'm going to do this is, so I'm going to show you how to set up the board when you're actually playing with someone physically. And we're going to run through like what the basics of the different card types are. And then we're going to actually use the special app that they have on my phone. And we'll actually play a practice game, probably one. I don't know. I don't want it to take too long. So we'll play like one game on the app. And I'll explain more about that later too. So you guys can actually see the game in action. So first off, we will look at the actual deck. So we have the rule cards, of course, here, which are great and handy to have. And then like we saw in the unboxing of this, there's this, which I found out is the memory gauge. As you can see, it goes from 0 to 10 on both sides. And then you could also pop these little chips out here. And you could use that to actually mark the place on it. And you can see that it says player 2 and player 1. Oh, you know what? Let's flip it. I want to be player 1. So here we go. Now I am player 1. So here we go. So the way this works is this is the resource for playing your cards. And when the game starts out, you start out at 0. Yeah, just want to get this all straightened out. Sorry. So you start out at 0 memory, and all the things are very thematic to like the digital world and computers and stuff. So a lot of the terminology is going to be kind of funny, and I think the game itself is designed awesomely. I've been having a lot of fun actually playing the tutorial games. So anyway, so this is your memory. The game starts out, whoever wins the game it specifically states rock, paper, scissors. So no coin flips or anything unless you want to go off the rule book, which is slightly devilish there. It says rock, paper, scissors to decide who goes first. And then whoever goes first starts off at 0 memory. And then all the costs shift the memory towards your opponent's side. So for example, if you play something that costs 4 memory somehow on turn 1, so as soon as the memory gauge goes past 0, so goes to 1 or above, your turn automatically ends and it goes straight to your opponent's turn, and then your opponent starts out with however much memory that was. So it's always a constant back and forth with resources, which I think is really cool, and it's a really great way to do it. To do resources for playing costs. So, you know, for example, if you want to play like a 12 cost card turn 1, you have to really think about like, do I want to do that? Because if you play like, well, actually, I don't think there's a 12 cost card. Is there? That'd be really crazy because it only goes up to 10. But so, for example, if you play a 10 cost card on turn 1, when you're at 0, your turn would automatically end. and then your opponent has 10 memory to play with before their turn ends. So they could play a 10 cost card themselves, and they would still be at 0, so they'd be allowed to even play something else. So you always have to kind of think about that, which I think is really, really cool. You have to weigh, like, is the best play here worth my opponent, getting some extra memory versus playing something that's slightly average and giving them less resources for their turn. And you can also pass your turn if you want to, if you maybe have just such a bad hand that there really is nothing that you want to play. And if you do pass your turn while you still have memory, your opponent starts their turn with automatically 3 memory. So that is one of the rules there, and that was kind of a boring explanation, but that's kind of how it is. So then we'll move on to the card types. So I actually didn't notice this in the unboxing video because I don't think I showed the backs, or if I did, I only showed, one instead of both of them. So the Digi-Eggs here, actually when you play the game, go into their own pile. It's called the hatchery, I think. It doesn't really matter. But they have a white back, as you can see here, to separate them from all the other cards in your deck, which are blue-backed, which is really, really convenient, so you'll never mix them up. And the Digi-Egg deck can contain, this is the weird thing, it says in the rules that it can contain up to 5 cards. The deck only comes with 4, so I'm assuming then you can go even as low as you want, since they didn't say that there was any lower limit to how many you can have, which I think is really interesting, because, theoretically, then why would you go up to 5, Since a play set of cards in this game is 4, you could have maximum of 4 copies of any one card in your deck. So if you go up to 5, you're just lowering your consistency, because then you're adding one card that's different from all of them. So would you then mix it up? I don't know if that's ever optimal to go to 5 then, unless it's a very fringe situation, when you're thinking more of the actual metagame and optimizing your deck. I thought that was just a very weird number to pick, instead of just picking 4 or 8. 8 I think would be high, but at least that would let you have 2 play sets of 2 different eggs. Or whatever you call them. Yeah, the egg Digimon. Even though it's technically not an egg, because this would be egg, fresh, and in training, I think, are the terms for actually those stages. But in the way that the app is set up, you put your Digi-Egg deck here, kind of at the bottom. This goes between you and your opponent, since obviously you both use it. And then you have your deck going into a different pile, which would be here. And you have your trash pile here, which is essentially your graveyard, but it's called trash, like the little trash folder in your computer, the recycle bin, essentially, which is kind of interesting. And then this would be essentially the playing field. Oh, there's actually one more zone, but you put 5 cards here. So when you decide who goes first, you shuffle your deck, and before anyone draws their cards, you have to place the top 5 cards of your deck into this pile here, which is essentially your defenses. It's if you're familiar with duel monsters, then you'll know exactly how this system works. So you have essentially these 5 cards act as shields to protect you, and your opponent first has to go through those 5 cards by attacking them. And then when you have no more cards left in this zone, then they can attack you directly, and if they succeed, that's how they win the game. That is the win condition. I'm not sure if there are any alternate win conditions present in this game, because of course I only have the one starter deck and I haven't opened any of the boxes or anything like that. So maybe there's stuff like that. I'm assuming if there is, then you follow what the rule says on the cards versus what the actual rules say, because that's usually how that stuff tends to work. And there's also, and the purpose of the firewall is obviously to defend you, but it's not just that so normally you would feel bad about obviously putting 5 cards from your deck here and being like, well, I can't use those cards. But there are quite a few cards, and not all of them, but some cards have special abilities when they're flipped from this zone. So we'll see, of course, when we do the practice game, but when your opponent or you attack the face down zone, again, we'll call it the firewall. Attack the firewall, you flip the top card of that firewall, and then if it is a Digimon card, then your Digimon essentially has a proxy battle with that card that was flipped. So if your Digimon, for example, has 4,000 power, and it attacks and you flip a Digimon off of your opponent's firewall that has 6,000 power, for example. So your Digimon would die, unfortunately, because of that battle with that Digimon. But even if the opponent's firewall Digimon survives, it still immediately goes down to the trash. It's just that they can get a free kill on you if it's a Digimon. If it is most spells, or I don't know what they're actually, option cards. Most option cards also have some sort of effect as well, which are essentially the spells of this game. All the effect cards that aren't a Digimon. And those can have interesting effects. Sometimes the effect on the firewall, when you flip it, is the same effect as it has if you actually play it. Other times it's something completely different. And so there is an element of strategy to that, kind of, in a way. And sometimes you even have to weigh if it's worth flipping the firewall card. In my experience from playing the practice games, you almost always want to risk flipping it anyway. But, you know, I don't know what the other cards available in the pool are. I'm sure that there are some cards that you can get from the box that are, like, absolutely insane when you flip them. You know, have some crazy effect that really makes you consider if you're in a good position to actually attack the firewall and risk flipping that card. Then you, of course, draw your starting hand. Your starting hand is 5 cards, I believe, which is a little less than most games. But there is a drawing mechanic in this game. So when you start out your turn, you essentially would flip. Your first option is to either flip a Digimon, hatch it from your little egg zone, and then it stays into this other slot right next to the egg zone. Or if you already have a Digimon here in your next turns, you have the option of playing that Digimon then here for that phase. And if you could choose to not play anything from your hatch zone, even if you have a Digimon here, and just move right onto your main phase. So you flip this, that's usually your first turn, you're gonna hatch a Digimon, and then you're gonna play something on top of it to Digivolve it. And there's inherited traits that each card has. So for example, Koromon has an inherited trait. It actually says, wait a minute. Oh, it's written like this, that's kind of weird. But it has inherited effect. So this one says, your turn. While this Digimon has 4 more Digivolution cards, it gets plus 1000 DP, which is the power. Oh yeah, Koromon doesn't have any because he's an egg. So what this means is that after you Digivolve, you can essentially stack, hold on, let me find, perfect. So see, turn 1, you can play Biomon. It costs 0 to Digivolve. So then you would place it essentially on top of it like this, I would assume, so that you could actually see the inherited effect and make it very clear that it has it. And then if you keep Digivolving on top of this, and if there's 4 cards, then this effect will trigger on your turn. And every time you Digivolve, so you see here, each Digimon has 2 costs, right? So there's a play cost here that says 2, and then there's the Digivolve cost, which is 0. So if you choose to Digivolve this on top of something else, you of course pay 0 memory, and you get to keep going. And when you Digivolve, as opposed to playing a card, you automatically get to draw a card, which helps refill your hand as you keep Digivolving, which is why the 5-card starting hand, it seems really small, but as you're Digivolving, you keep drawing cards over and over and over again. It is almost negligible. I actually feel like cards that specifically have an effect to make you draw a card have less value in this game because you're already drawing cards so much. But I'm not sure. I haven't actually played any competitive games of this since, of course, I only have this deck in paper. And that is how that mechanic works. And then, of course, if you choose to play instead, you can choose to play it onto the board without ever paying, or without Digivolving, in which case then you would pay 2 memory, and your opponent's turn would end. You can also take as many actions as you want during your turn, provided that you have enough memory for it. So, I mean, if you have, like, 100 things you could do for 0 memory, you can do 100 things on that first turn and give your opponent a real run for their money. But that is, of course, very, very unlikely. Although I am sure eventually, as power creep happens, as it does in every card game, something like that will probably become a thing. But yeah, so that is basically how the actual game goes. Then the trash is obviously your discard, and that is basically the simple rundown of it. And if there's anything, hopefully some cool interactions will come up in the app, and then we can go over them there. So that is what we're going to cut to now. Alright, and now we are here at the starting screen for the actual companion app. And it's completely free to download. It is purely a tutorial app, so there's no player versus player options here. But the cool thing is you are allowed to, for free, try half-sized decks of all 3 of the original starter decks that I mentioned before. You have Matt, Tai, the one that we have, Gaia Red, and then you have the TK one. So here we go. This is the opening screen. It's a really small app too. Like my phone does not have a lot of space, but I was still able to download it perfectly fine because it is only, 3 half decks worth of cards and no online anything. So they can condense it into a very small tutorial app. And this is awesome. So here, sorry about my screen. There you go. When it gets real dark, you can see how messed up it is. But it works for me, and it discourages thieves, I would hope. So when you start it up, you'll originally have to play each tutorial individually. You'll only have tutorial 1 unlocked. And this will teach you, like the basics of like the very beginning of your turn, really, just very early mechanics. Then of course you'll learn more stuff. I think this one, you learn more about playing the option cards, I think, in this one, and then like evolving Digimon further and how that all works. And after you complete those 2, then you unlock access to your first half deck, which happened to be Gaia Red. And then if you complete this one, you'll get this one, and then so on and so forth until you have all 3. And I have played all 3 because I had so much fun actually with Gaia Red. I'm like, man, I'm gonna try all of these. And in my personal opinion, all 3 of these decks are really fun and unique in their own way. And I didn't really think that there was any huge imbalance of power between them. You don't get to choose which deck you play against, unfortunately. So for Gaia Red, you play against Casitas Blue. In Casitas Blue, you play against the yellow one. And then when you play, what is it called? Heaven's Yellow, you play against Gaia Red. And they're all the half decks that you get to play, so you can already like know the cards that your opponent has in their deck as well. So for example, we will of course do Gaia Red for the tutorial here. So it says Battle Start, which is how you start the game, and then you have Confirm Deck, which lets you take a look at what your opponent has. So there we go, that is the opponent's deck list here. Go back. And these are the cards that we have access to in this app here. Back. And then we can click Battle Start, and it'll do everything for us. Yeah, that is one nice screen, isn't it, guys? It's actually only the top layer. I have like a fancy like extra glass thing that was you stick over the top of your screen like a sticker, and that's actually what's shattered. So my actual phone screen is completely fine. I highly recommend getting that. It is amazing. So here we go. There's actually still some tutorial tips even in the half games. So this is for blockers and Digivolutions, which I will of course explain if we do run into them. Blockers are essentially Digimon that you can intercept and attack to your firewall with if your opponent attacks, and that Digimon isn't exerted, which is the word in this game for tapping in most other games. So we go victory conditions. You win if you get rid of all the cards in your opponent's security stack. That's what it's called. It's a firewall, guys. Come on. It's a firewall. Opponent's security stack, and then successfully attack your opponent directly, as I explained before. So we won the coin flip, it seems, and we get to hatch. So let's hatch our Digimon. We have Koromon, which doesn't involve any prediction, since I think it is only 4 Koromons in there, I believe. The memory gauge, it explains all the other tutorial stuff. I completely forgot about this. We could have avoided all that other stuff. So here you can see there's all the levels for the different cards up above them, which helps you kind of know what you have able to play on a glance. So right now we have, if you hold on it, you can bring up the menu. So here we go. We have Agumon right there that we can play right now for free, if I can exit out. So we can drag it right on top of here. We Digivolve, and as I said, we're going to get a card draw. Oh, cool. We got Tai. We can take a look at his ability. So the cool thing about the Tai Kamiya and all the other, like, what are they called? I'm going to look at the box again. Tamers. All the other Tamer cards is they aren't, there's no legendary rule. They aren't, like, unique. So, for example, you can play, like, 3 Tai Kamiyas on the board at once if you really want to, if you can have enough of them. And all their abilities will trigger. It won't be, like, one at a time. So, for example, Tai's is your turn, all of your Digimon get plus 1,000 DP. So if you have 3 Tais, each of your turns, not each of your turns, during your turn, all your Digimon will then get plus 3,000 DP, which is really, really cool, that they can stack like that. So you can do some fun shenanigans with that. Although these games happen so fast that I don't think I've ever gotten more than 2 of a single Tamer out at any given point in time. So now here's like the part I was talking about where you have the option of, where you have to kind of judge what is worth playing. Because right now, we can go into Cordramon here if we want to, because he is a level 4 and we already have a level 3. But if we do this, oh wait, actually, never mind. This actually won't make that much of a difference because either way, see, his Digivolution cost is 2. So if we play this right now, our opponent will have 2 memory during their turn. Or we could play Tai Kamiya right now. But you know what? We're gonna go long here. We're gonna play Cordramon. And Cordramon is actually, I believe, a Defender Digimon. Although we lose our turn here, so we can't actually check. But Defender, so the downside to the Defender Digimon being able to intercept an attack if they're unexerted is that you have to pay 2 memory if you want to attack with them. So there is a little bit of a trade-off. So you don't necessarily want to have like an entire deck that has only blocker Digimon, because that might end up biting you in the butt later on when you actually want to start attacking and you realize that your turn's ending really quickly because you have to keep paying the 2 memory each time. There we go. So they Digivolved. They did not play much. So for our turn, of course, see, we can't hatch another egg because we don't have a slot. So instead, we will move Cordramon to the battlefield. Wait, why did we get plus 1,000? I'm confused now. Oh, I forgot, we had Agumon on top of it first. So your turn, this Digimon gets 1,000 DP. So there's almost like a breeding, like a genetic breeding mechanic here, essentially with Digivolving. The different Digivolution inherited effects that you can stack. You can make your Digimon more and more powerful as you Digivolve. So it really, really does incentivize you to try to Digivolve as opposed to playing cards outright. But sometimes, obviously, you don't have a choice, so it is nice to have the option. So, like here, we have a bunch of good abilities, although this one does not trigger yet, since we do not have enough cards on this stack. So what do we have here? We can play a 5. I can barely read these numbers. This looks like a 5, but see, we will lose our, it'll be the opponent's turn if we do this right now. So, oh, actually, shit. Oop, I shouldn't really swear. Oh no, we're between a rock and a hard place here, aren't we? We can't really do much. We can't, so, here's the problem we're running into now. What you can do is you can attack first, and then Digivolve if you want to, if that would end your turn, so you could be more efficient. But right now, we can't attack, because if we did, our turn would automatically end. So personally, I think the best course of action would be to go into Metal Greymon. Oh my gosh. Yeah, sometimes it can be a little finicky with... Oh my, I dragged it that time! You guys all saw it move! There we go. So, yeah, we lose the blocker ability. That does not carry over. But we have Metal Greymon now. And our turn ends, and our opponent has, what, 2 memory. They're probably going to attack us now. They played their trainer. Yup, there's the security check. Oh, we didn't really see what happened there, but I can take a look at this. So they actually flipped what I was talking about, where they flipped an option card, and its effect triggered. You guys could probably have read that, actually, on the screen. I could not read anything looking through this viewfinder. Here we go. Security effect. Security. All of your Digimon gain security attack. Wait, what? Yes, all of your Digimon gain security attack +1. This Digimon checks 1 additional security card until the end of your next turn, which is awesome. So security attack +1, essentially, and you can also stack security attack as well. Why does it not want to... It is very finicky sometimes, unfortunately. So what security attack means is as you stack the security attacks, if you could get like security attack +4 if you really could and you wanted to. It means it checks more cards from the firewall area, the security area. So if I attack, for example, I will now, instead of flipping only 1 card, I will flip 2. So it is a very, very good ability to have, as it just lets you burn through those security cards much faster and more efficiently. So right now, we can do other things. Here, we have another 0 cost. So it's Biomon. It doesn't do anything, unfortunately. No. Come on. There we go. So we'll Digivolve that. Since it's a 0 cost, we'll just draw a free card, essentially. See if that helps. It's always good to, prioritize getting card draw if you're unsure, as just a general gameplay strategy. And then we have some option cards that we can take a look at here. All of your security Digimon get plus 7,000 DP until the end of your opponent's next turn. Interesting, but that's not worth playing right now. See, that is an amazing card if you're behind, for example, and your opponent is just wailing on your security stack. You play something like that, and then odds are, if your opponent flips that Digimon off the security stack, they're probably going to lose whichever Digimon they attack, because 7,000 plus 7,000 DP is huge. Even if they flip like a Biomon, that is 3,000, that's 10,000 then, which can defeat even like a Metal Greymon, for example. That's, you know, so you gotta play around with it a little bit. There's always some like elements of strategy. I think it's really fun. I think this game is super, super well designed for that reason. So, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna play Tai Kamiya. And I believe his effect will trigger now. Yes. So it is our turn. His effect automatically triggers and War Greymon goes up to 9,000. And now during our combat, we have the option to attack their security deck to do a security check, or we can attack any exerted Digimon that they have. So we could kill Wergarurumon. I'm not gonna just because I don't feel like it. Although it might end up being a mistake later on that'll bite us in the butt. But here we go. We are going to do a security attack. Since we have the effect from last turn that'll check 2 cards. There, 6,000, 9,000 beats it, and then we flip the next one. And that was massively efficient. We still kept our Metal Greymon, and we took out 2 security cards. And we passed turn. Oh, that was such a bad thing. Why did we... Okay, see, there we go. That's what I mean. We could pass turn, but now we just gave them 3 memory instead of, you know, being able to play like another Tai Kamiya. And we could have... Yeah, been more optimal. So that's what I mean. You don't want to pass if you don't have to. There's always something you should be doing instead of passing almost 90% of the time. Hopefully this doesn't actually lose. I have not lost a single time yet. The AI is not very strong, and unfortunately there aren't multiple difficulties, so you can't like actually challenge yourself, but I think that's fine. So again, we have no option to hatch, so we'll move Biomon right up here. And then we can, so what are we at? We are back at 1, so not a good sign. Well, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna security attack then. YOLO. Awesome. That was good. That was good. And then, you know what? I don't think we're gonna be evolving this Biomon in favor of evolving our Metal Garurumon. Oh my god, it survived! Amazing! I am the king! Alright, so here we go. We have some huge Digimon here. That's a level 5. We have War Greymon himself, the cover card, and we are going to play that right on top of our Metal Greymon. Unfortunately, it doesn't unexert it. So if you attacked already with the Digimon and then you play the other one, it'll still remain exerted, the status will carry over, so you can't like really cheese the game like that. If you get really lucky with your security attacks, you can't go like Biomon, oh it survived, I'm gonna Digivolve it, I'm gonna attack again. Okay, I'm gonna Digivolve that now and attack again. You can't do that because that would just be absolutely ridiculous. But I think we are still gonna be doing well here. Oh, maybe not. Oh, never mind. We flipped a huge card there. I think, what is that called? Phoenixmon, right? Oh yeah, all the Tai Kamiya's trigger. A bunch of his other effects, yeah. All of his inherited effects have triggered now because he has enough Digivolution cards for Koromon. Alright, we hatch another Koromon. And if you run out of Digimon to hatch, you can still keep playing. You just have to obviously play from your hand, then straight to the battlefield instead of Digivolving onto the hatched Digimon. So it starts to become more and more expensive. But the game doesn't just like stop. The game only ends after the security cards go away, if a direct attack happens, or if one player has no cards left in deck and has to draw. In the correct order, it would be if a player has to draw while they have no cards in deck, then they will lose as well due to a deck out. What are our inherited effects? Wait, that's not what I want to look at here. Yes, see, we hit a huge Digimon in our security deck there. Yep, Phoenixmon with 12,000 DP. So that just obliterated, absolutely Exodia obliterated that Digimon. So there's always like lots of trade-offs going on, and it's really interesting that way, because sometimes like you can even have a huge Digimon and be in a pretty good position to beat your opponent, and you attack their security stack and you flip something ridiculous like that, and then you lose your biggest Digimon, and suddenly your opponent now has the upper hand. So there's it's a lot of give and take, like I explained before, which is really, really fun. And the actual, the Heaven's Yellow deck, that's like a big theme in that, is buffing your security deck by, like, even the TK Tamer card actually makes all your security Digimon gain 3,000 DP during your opponent's turn. So if you have like 2 TKs out, that's plus 6,000 DP to each Digimon that happens to be in your security deck. So you just start like obliterating, and like they have to start this, your opponent essentially starts trading Digimon every time they try to take your security deck out, which is hilarious. Like they just kill themselves, and then you just go in for the kill. It's much more control type deck, it feels, than this one. The Gaia Red deck is definitely the most aggro deck of them all, of the 3. And then the Garurumon and Mat one, that's like a very middle ground. It has a lot of effects that take away Digivolution materials, so you can start taking away your opponent's inherited effects while still doing pretty good damage to the shields. So I like that there's the 3, so there's the middle ground, which is Mat, and then Heaven's Yellow is like very control-y, and you just try to mess your opponent up as much as possible, and then just kind of go in for the kill after you have all your effects in place. And then this one is just, I'm gonna go to your face and blow you up, which is my style for sure, although I did enjoy all 3. So here we go, we are pretty close to winning here. We have 1 memory again. Oh, I hate this opponent. They are really not letting us do what we want to do here. We can, oh my gosh. Come on. There we go. Let's Digivolve and let's try to draw a card. Oh, another tie. Well, we can't really do much here, so I guess I'm just gonna YOLO. Well, actually, yeah, we just win here. It doesn't even matter. Even if Biomon dies here, we just win, because they don't have any defender. Boom! And that is how a game of Digimon ends, epic style, guys. You win! I played like at least 10 rounds now with all these decks. They're really, really fun. I really enjoyed even just messing around with this app. So like if you don't even have any of these Digimon cards, but are maybe considering getting one of these starter decks, just download the app and actually try them out and see which one you like most, and then go from there, because this app is awesome. It's really clean, it works super smooth, and it's really small, like I explained before. So, I mean, you could just have at it, you know, play around with whichever one you like the most, and then just buy that one later on. Or like me, you know, I tested out all of them now, and I'm considering actually picking up the other 2 that I don't have, because I just had that much fun with them. Even just the starter decks out of the box, I think would be really fun to just play around with friends. And yeah, that is essentially how you play the Digimon TCG. I hope I wasn't too long-wound here, and I hope that it was easy to understand and not very convoluted. I think I did a little bit better than I did on the Magi Nation video, but, you know, who am I to tell? It is up to you guys, the fans, right? So yeah, I hope you guys learned something today. I hope you had fun learning how to play this game as much as I enjoyed playing it, and I hope you liked the video as much as I enjoyed making it, guys. So if you did, please do like, comment, and subscribe. This is very hard to do with a small screen. Hold on. Boop. If you did like the video, please do like, comment, and subscribe, because that helps out the channel tremendously. And I try to upload a new video every week, and I try to upload it on Wednesday evenings, so that is when you should try to tune in. Although I apparently can't make any promises due to all sorts of funny circumstances. So yeah, that is about it, guys. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.